Hello everyone, my name is Rashid. I hope you are feeling well after summer holidays. This semester I will be teaching your theoretical grammar subject, both lectures and seminars. And this subject is taught to you during the 2 semesters, in the 7th and 8th semesters in your last year. Today, in our lecture, we shall study the introduction to theoretical grammar. What is it? What does theoretical grammar study? How was it formed? And how it appeared? And so on. And now, let's start our presentation from the beginning. So, theoretical grammar. So, what is theoretical and what is grammar? Theoretical means theory. It derived from the word theory. And grammar, it's grammar. It studies the structures of words, sentences, the rules of structures of language. So let's start. So the term grammar is derived from the Greek word grammatike, where gram meant something written. The part tike derives from techne and meant art. Hence, grammatike is the art of writing. So, grammar. Grammar consists of two big parts: theoretical grammar and the practical grammar. Besides these types of grammar, we also have universal grammar, comparative grammar, traditional grammar, and so on. And we shall discuss it in our further lectures, in our future lectures. And let's start from practical grammar. Practical grammar gives practical rules of the use of linguistic structures. And the second one, theoretical grammar, gives an analysis of the structures in the light of general principles of linguistics and existing schools and approaches. The aim of theoretical grammar. What is it? Any course of theoretical grammar today serves to describe the grammatical structure of language as a system where all parts are interconnected. So, theoretical grammar it nearly means the descriptive grammar. What kind of grammar is descriptive? It's describing grammar. It derived from the word describe. And practical grammar nearly means the prescriptive grammar. It prescribes what it means. Let's see. Prescriptive and descriptive grammar. Practical grammar prescribes certain rules of usage and teaches to speak or write correctly. So it mainly deals with practice. And the second one, theoretical grammar presents facts of language while analyzing them and gives no prescriptions. It analyzes whether this classification is right or wrong, and what kind of the theory is put forward by scholars on particular subjects of grammar. And to a prescriptive grammarian, grammar is rules of correct usage. Its aim is to prescribe what is judged to be correct rather than to describe actual usage. So, prescriptive grammar means nearly the same as practical grammarian. And to a descriptive grammarian, grammar is a systematic description of the structure of a language. So we can nearly say prescriptive grammarian is a practical grammarian, and descriptive grammarian is nearly the same as theoretical grammarian, but there are some differences. So let's start from historical types of grammars. The ancient one is traditional, prescriptive and non-structural descriptive grammar. And second one, structural descriptive. This dates back to 18th, 19th century, and transformational generative grammar dates back to the beginning of 20th century. We shall discuss it in our future lectures. Panini is known for his Sanskrit grammar, particularly for his formulation of the 3,959 rules of Sanskrit morphology, syntax, and semantics. The grammar known as Astadhyayi, meaning 8 chapters. So we can say Panini is the father of traditional old grammar. His theory of morphological analysis was more advanced than any equivalent Western theory before the mid-20th century. So, a 17th century Birchmark manuscript of Panini's grammar treatise from Kashmir. So you can see his book on the screen. In ancient Greece and ancient Rome, the term grammar denoted the whole apparatus of literacy. So in Greece and Rome, it wasn't only correct writing and speaking, but it was more than that. It meant literary works, all the science as a whole. So while they said grammar, it was meant to be the science itself. You have to keep it in mind. Okay, traditional grammar has its origins in the principle formulated by the scholars of ancient Greece in the works of Dionysius Thrax, Protagoras, Plato, and Aristotle. Dionysius Thrax was the first to present a comprehensive grammar of Greek. His grammar remained a standard work for 13 centuries. Thrax distinguished two basic units of description: the sentence, logos, which is the upper limit of grammatical description, and the verb, which is the minimal unit of grammatical description. The sentence is defined notionally as expressing a complete thought. So you can see the classification of parts of speech in ancient Greek and Latin grammar, constitution of the constituents of the sentence class words. The first one, anoma. We also have noun, rema, verb, metoshi, participle, arthron, article, antonymy, pronoun, prothesis, preposition, epireme, adverb, and syndesmos, conjunctions. These are the classification of all Latin and Greek. The first Latin grammar was written by Varro. One of the Varro's merits is the distinction between derivation and inflection. Varro set up the following system of 4 inflection contrasting classes. 1. Those with case inflections. 2. Those with tense inflection. 3. Those with case and tense inflection. And 4. Those with neither. So, also, the Latin grammars of present day are the direct descendants of the work written by late grammarians, Priscian in particular. Their aim was to transfer as far as possible the grammatical system of Thrax's grammar. In the Middle Ages, grammar was the study of Latin. Until the end of the 16th century, the only grammars used in English were the Latin grammars. The aim was to teach the English to read, write, and sometimes converse in this lingua franca of Western Europe. So, you know, Latin was the language of science and religion in medieval ages. So that's why it was taught in all around Europe. So early scholars were monks, and let's continue. One of the earliest and most popular Latin grammars written in English was William Lilly's grammar, published in the first half of the 16th century. It was an aid to learning Latin, and it rigorously followed Latin models. Early English grammars. Renaissance vibrant linguistic origins. Scholars turned their attention to the living language of Europe. So, after 17th century, scholars started to pay attention to living languages of Europe, to English, French, Italian, Spanish, and so on. In most cases, Latin was avoided because maybe one of the causes for this situation is that Latin was no longer a language of living nations. It was a dead language, maybe. So, although the study of Greek and Latin grammar continued, they weren't the only language scholars became interested in. The first grammars of English were closely related to Latin, which scholars had treated as an ideal language. English, which replaced Latin, had to appear as perfect as Latin. As a result, some English scholars were greatly concerned with refining their language. Through the use of logic, they hoped to improve English. The first grammars of English were prescriptive, not descriptive. So, as you see, early grammarians were mostly practical, not theoretical. The most influential grammar of this period was Lowell's short introduction to English grammar. So you can see this picture. His first English grammarian. Wow. English described through Latin. The aim of this grammar was to teach us to express ourselves appropriately and to enable us to judge of every phrase and form of construction, whether it be right or not. The criterion for the discrimination between right and wrong construction was Latin. As Latin appeared to conform best to the concept of ideal grammar, English was described in terms of Latin forms and the same grammatical constraints were imposed. Okay. Example, a noun was presented in the form of a Latin noun paradigm. Nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, ablative, vocative. So you can, Latin language had several cases, while in English we only have two cases nowadays. But it's a controversial problem. We shall see it in our future lectures. The future's prescriptive grammar. To sum up, early prescriptive grammar could be characterized by the following features: patterning after Latin in classifying words into word classes and establishing grammatical categories, reliance on meaning and function in definitions, approach to correctness. The standards of correctness are logic, which are identified as Latin past, emphasis on writing rather than speech. Descriptive, non-structural grammar. Henry Sweet. Henry Sweet is considered the father of non-structural descriptive grammar. As I said, as my exposition claims to be scientific, I confine myself to statements of facts with attempting to settle the relative correctness of divergent usages. These are his ideas. Let's continue. Unlike prescriptivists, descriptivists focus their attention on actual usage without trying to settle the relative correctness of divergent usages. Similar to prescriptivists, descriptivists use meaning and function in the definition of parts of speech. Let's see another eminent scholar, Otto Jespersen, a Danish linguist, developed the theory of grammar and the grammar of English. He proposed three principles classification: meaning, form, and function. His theory is set out in the philosophy of grammar. It removes the parts of speech from the syntax, is based on the concept of ranks, and brings the concept of context to the forefront of the attention. So he puts forward the context as the main form of grammatical unit, maybe. Okay. Emergence of structuralism. So what is structuralism? Structuralism in European countries it started in 1920s. In North American countries it started between 1930s and 1960s. So as a reaction to the atomistic approach to language, a new theory appeared that was seeking to grasp linguistic events in their mutual interconnection and interdependence, to understand and to describe language as a system. So, the first linguists to speak of language as a system or a structure of smaller systems were Badiou de Courtenay, Fortunato from Russia, and the Swiss linguist Ferdinand de Saussure. You can see all these scholars on your computer screen, screens. So the American descriptive school. Franz Boas, linguist and anthropologist, is usually mentioned as the predecessor of American descriptivism. His basic ideas were later developed by Edward Sapir and Leonard Bloomfield. So, Franz Boas is the father of descriptivism, and later Leonard Bloomfield developed it to its perfect condition. And Leonard Bloomfield, the study of language can be conducted only so long as we pay no attention to the meaning of what is spoken. Mostly, we accept Leonard Bloomfield as the father of descriptive linguistics and de Saussure as the father of structuralism. Both of these scholars were very practical in their ideas. Okay, so American descriptive school. So they have principal approach, analysis of sentences, and the focus. North American structural main tenets. So you can see their main notions here on your computer screens. To sum up, I can say that theoretical grammar has had long time to develop from prescriptive to descriptive, and finally evolved to our modern grammatical theories. So I think that's all for today. See you in our next lecture. Goodbye. Bye bye.